what not to do when you're trying to buy.
That's right. Couple of little things what not to do when you're trying to buy. But first, we'll just touch on the things that we know you should take the right steps for when you are buying. And
so this is on the back of you helping a family member trying to buy in another market.
yeah, a friend.
Yeah,
A friend
Yeah.
in another market. Yes, so on the back of that and helping them buy their first property, the key takeaway is always, we always tell people to get themselves ready. And when you're going into the market, and the key takeaways are organise your finance and speak to your broker. Definitely choose a conveyancer that's going to represent you on the legal side of the transaction, and do your due diligence around property that you're comparing to help you with some pricing, and obviously looking at some other sales in the area.
Well, what has got me about this particular case is they had their finance arranged.
Had their finance
and
sorted?
the broker encouraged them to go out and make an offer.
Correct.
And that's how most people start their journey.
That's right.
Once you've got the tick of approval, let's go out and make some offers. But what really sort of upset me about this is throughout that process, when they eventually found the property they wanted, had come to what they thought was an agreement with the agent,
Yep.
then things started to be removed from the house.
Yeah, so it's a classic of the go wrong story by not completing some of the important steps, or one of the most important steps is the contract of sale.
Yes.
And having a conveyancer work for you. So
these guys made their offer,
made their offer,
but they had not looked at the contract,
hadn't seen a contract of
and
sale,
they hadn't had their conveyancer look at the contract.
hadn't appointed a conveyancer.
Okay. And they looked at the advertising material.
Yes.
And assumed that what they saw in the advertising
Was
was
what they were
actually an
buying.
inclusion in the sale.
Yeah, so classic example, we'll use it in real time. The ad written by the agency was clearly defined, having a really nice little alfresco area with a spa bath, an
That's
external
right.
spa bath. It was in the advertising, and there were pictures with representation of it, and the scripting actually had highlighted that as one of the selling features of the property.
Why you want the house?
Why you might want the house. So these people had explored, got themselves in a position to negotiate, and had a price accepted for them to buy the property.
And that's when they started telling their family and friends they bought a home.
Yes, so
Unfortunately, too early.
very too early. So one of the first phone calls was to me, which I was grateful with because I was helping them through some of the early processes. When we were getting them sorted, the next phone call was, hey, we've had an offer accepted. So I didn't get to be super involved in getting them all the way ready because they'd already had the excitement from their broker to say, hey, go and make offers on property. So they actually missed that important step. And the important step happened to become reality for them was when they had the phone call from their then appointed conveyancer to sit with them to go through the contract of sale. And when they went to go through the contract of sale, you wouldn't believe it, the spa bath was not an inclusion on the contract.
But it actually was an inclusion that had been taken out.
Yeah. So it was there to be seen on the inspection of the property. It was there in the marketing. Their interest and offer to purchase was on the basis of they were buying what they had seen, but it wasn't right until that critical point where they were about to sign for this property on the contract that it was not included.
And the comment was made.
A comment was made.
The vendor wasn't happy with the price.
Yep.
So had decided to remove what was an inclusion.
Yes.
Unfortunately, these guys had nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
They either had to accept the property with the new inclusion list
Correct.
or walk away.
That's right.
And they were already emotionally incredibly invested and had pictured themselves moving into the home.
Not only that, so these guys have recently become permanent residents in Australia, so they had pushed themselves in a negotiation to the top of their approval limits to buy a home that was not only going to accommodate their family needs, but visiting family, also friends that aren't in that marketplace that come and visit them, only to find out at the penultimate moment that the inclusion they thought they were getting was removed, and they had to make that ultimate decision.
And the agent who had been very helpful or suggested had been very helpful,
Yep.
all of a sudden was 100% for the vendor.
That's right.
There was no in between.
Yep.
So they were left with no option but to either walk away
Yes.
or to accept the new terms. Plus, there were a few little hiccups within the contract that their conveyancer picked up
Mm-hmm.
that they couldn't address either. They were too far in,
Yep.
and again had to accept the contract as it was written.
Yes, so those parts where we've indicated, and for these guys in particular, the emotional connection had happened before the property was actually theirs. And one of the critical must-dos in this example in particular is making sure that before you make an offer on a property to buy that could be accepted, that you've had that contract looked at.
Yeah. So what we find, and we see it all the time, we see it with auction property, we see it for sale property, is the emotion and the excitement of securing your home, whether it be an upsize, a downsize, or just your very first home. There's just a lot of emotion involved. So what happens is we get into a home with our buyers and they say, yep, we love it, we want it. However, that visual inspection is not enough.
No, it's the critical parts in that process is everything coming back to that contract to sale. It's actually a requirement under the Act. Agents must have in residential property the contractor available to view on request from any inspecting party. It's there for you for this very reason, to complete your homework, and we use the words so you know what you are buying.
Yeah, and I think that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
You don't actually know what you're buying when you make an offer. So when you have your finance approved and your broker says, right, you're ready to make an offer and encourages you to make an offer, what they're not telling you is you should follow the steps to a successful purchase. So what we recommend is start with some research.
Yep.
Get in and out of these properties. See as many properties as you can, not even the ones that you think are going to work for you, but even some properties that aren't quite ideal, so that you can feel very comfortable about what pricing is happening for the type of property that you might be keen on. So once you've been in and out of the properties, you might then shortlist a few, and then you might be in a position where you say, this is the one.
Yep.
Or this might be one of two or three that we're really keen on. From that point, start engaging with the selling agent and being very upfront about what it is you're trying to achieve.
That's right.
And then move straight into first step from the inspection is to get a copy of that contract.
100%.
Now, for as many contracts as we've read, it is a little bit daunting. There are multiple pages of law, there's title searches, there's a whole lot of information in there, and that's where we recommend reaching out to a conveyancer or your family solicitor and have that contract checked, because the worst case scenarios are that contract may identify that there are parts of the property that are not compliant.
Correct.
They may have orders placed on them from council for removal.
Yep, additions, extensions onto property are not being correctly done or inspected or certified at the time.
We've seen where properties aren't sitting on their correct boundary line, encroachments from neighbours, encroachments on this property to another. So there's a whole host of legal issues that may even right back to the council asking you to knock down part of your property.
Correct.
In very worst case scenarios, and of course insurance issues.
Absolutely.
On the back of that. So we're not trying to frighten anybody, but you should not be making an offer until you know exactly what it is you're buying, or in the first instance ask the agent, what should I know about this property that may affect my decision to buy it? We, as the selling agents, have a legal obligation to the buyers to ensure that they're aware of all material facts relating to the property. So there's a few ways to protect yourself. Then we highly recommend moving into a building and pest inspection, which locally almost all agencies provide that report. Pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, they're all usually, and most agents are doing it, so some people make them available on different basis, but it is a pretty critical piece of information as well that will affect your decision to buy. When you're walking through the home, you're looking at the aesthetic, pleasurable parts, you're picturing where you're going to enjoy your cup of tea, you're admiring the pool and the landscaping, but most importantly, it's the hidden defects. It could be something in the roof, it could be something under the house that you're not sure of.
We need to get that checked. So that's where a written building report at full arm's length from the seller will put you in a really good position. So, and then the last step is making the offer.
Make the offer.
Negotiating with the agent. Now, one tip that I would give you is before you make that offer, let's go back to the house and let's have a good look at it. Let's check the appliances. Let's make sure the heating and cooling is working. Let's make sure that the oven and the cooktop are functioning.
Everything turns on and off.
Let's make sure the roller door goes up and down.
That's right.
The reason for that is within the contract, you will be buying an existing home
As
in
is.
an as-is condition. And if those items are seen to not be working at the time of handover, unfortunately, you take the property as is. So we want to make sure we've got all of that right. Make sure the inclusion list,
Is
which is
exactly what is coming with the house.
so we're very clear on what is staying, and then from there we can start the negotiation.
Yep.
And that will lead to a much better outcome.
Yep.
Than getting all the way to the end and then having these items.
And getting the
removed.
surprises. And the last and most critical point, Nathan, when making that offer, what is the best way for people to do that?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So, the first thing that you should never do is make an offer verbally. All offers need to be, at the very least, in writing.
Yes.
So that's the worst way. Well, the worst way is
verbally.
The next best, but still not good enough, is to put your offer in writing to an agent. If you are serious about buying a property, any property, your offer should be in writing on the contract of sale. That's where you filled in the front page, so all the particulars are there, the offer amount is there, and that's where you have the opportunity to add any conditions in regards to your purchase.
That's right.
So we can be very specific. If you're unsure how to do that, you can do that with the agent or you can do that with your conveyancer. We highly recommend doing that with your conveyancer. And that way there, the obligations that the selling agent have are to present that offer and or contract in writing to the seller and then respond to you in writing. There are also some implications on the marketing, particularly around auctions, auction guides.
Yeah.
So when you have an offer in writing that is declined, that has a direct impact on what the agents are allowed to do in terms of marketing going forward. So out of this, which we've hanged on being short.
Short again, yeah, real good at it.
Out of all of this, what we suggest is let's get your finance 100% approved.
Finance ready to go.
Then start looking at property. Once you've found a property, connect with your conveyancer or solicitor. If you then want to move to make an offer, re-inspect the property, check the appliances, check the inclusions, and then for the very best opportunity is put your offer on a contract and with your 10% deposit.
Best way to go about it.
Done. That was long.